Hello, and welcome to the Always About People show. I'm Beamer Barnes, and I'm a senior consultant at Always About People. And while everybody is jumping on, let me just give a quick overview. So, at Always About People, we are a consulting firm where we create cultures where people can thrive. And we do this through three different ways. So, that can be coaching, whether that's one on one or with your team. If you need any kind of project or facilitation, and then third, we have a data scientist on our team who's able to build custom surveys. Cool. So today we are talking about conflict, how it is unavoidable and rarely enjoyable. There are a few of us that hear conflict and think confrontation and run right to it. And then there's others like myself that are like, maybe we avoid this at all costs. Why do it? So we're all familiar with this feeling or this pit in our stomach, having our blood boil or just wanting to hide whenever we hear, see, feel conflict. It's unavoidable. Rarely do we have large doses of serotonin flowing when we see eye to eye to it. If you are on here live or you're watching later, please know that you can ask questions, put them in the chat. We have somebody on standby ready to answer your questions here live, or if you have anything later, we will send you an email, whatever the case may be, always on the move with that. So conflict. So why is conflict so prevalent in the workplace? Because people are involved. We are all involved. So over the course of the next 4 weeks, we're going to be going on a journey on how conflict impacts the workplace and what we can do about it. So today we're going to be talking about what is conflict and why is it a revolving door. Recent events have changed our values and our standards, yet within the workplace, things remain the same. So what is conflict at work? Why does it matter? And where did it start? First things first, let's go ahead and define culture. Culture is the patterns of behaviors and values encouraged and discouraged by people, processes, or systems over the course of time. Ultimately, this happens because actions produce information. And so conflict in the workplace happens whenever these things don't always add up. Whenever we are witnessing a behavior that is encouraged, but it doesn't really align with the values that the workplace says or the company says that they value, conflict. That's what happens. So different perceptions, personality skills, and agendas really contribute to this, and we'll cover that more in our second session. But why does this matter and why is it important? Because employees at all levels spend approximately 2.8 hours a week on unresolved conflict, according to an HBR study in 2017. This adds up to $350 billion in wasted wages, all in just avoiding confrontation or all-out fights within the workplace. So I always think that it's important to look backwards whenever we're looking at a current problem or an issue, tension, whatever the case may be, a lapse in behavior. Where did it start? How did it happen? What do we do about it? So some things to consider. The American dream. It was coined in 1931 from a book called Epic of America. Culturally, this directed people towards living a life where we dream of a land in which life should be better, richer, fuller, the opportunity for everyone according to their ability or their achievement. And so if we focus on this idea of achievement, work is linear and we progress upward over time. The education system reinforces this. You go into kindergarten, accomplish XYZ, go into first grade, take these tests, so on and so forth. And so you just continue to progress based on this idea of achievement and ability. So over time, this contract of the American dream was created. 1990s, it was the pinnacle of the American dream. So whenever 9/11 happened, we had children growing up who had faced a reality much sooner than that current working generation that there's a fertility to life, and we as Americans are not untouchable. Construct shift. Fast forward 2008, when these now millennial children are stepping into college and entering into the workforce, we see people, parents, mentors, bosses who've slaved away at their jobs absolutely lose everything. And the employers are like, well, our stock is down. There's nothing that we can do. And over this 18-month time span, 1 in 5 employees lose their job. This is according to a Wharton study, not just throwing data out there. And so we have people currently who are retiring with debt due to the market crash 15 years ago, or are trying to delay retirement due to their nest egg essentially being smaller than they intended. And this also resulted, obviously, myself included, many millennials who graduated college and had such a difficult time finding work right after school. So that was the millennial entrance into the workforce, and all of the workplace priorities shifted. Obviously, we also want to address the fact what else happened in the 2000s? The tech boom. Money's made, cell phone, internet, information, all of this stuff. So now we are living in new workplace priorities. There's been a generational shift where in the past we're focusing on paycheck, satisfaction, boss, annual review, weaknesses, the job. Where currently we are constantly thinking through what is the purpose? We want development. We don't want a boss. We're looking for a coach who is somebody that can continue to develop me and in this progression through my career. We're looking for ongoing conversations, a focus on strength, because ultimately work is now such a key component and a part of our life. We have work constantly at our fingertips. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Here it is. Like, what's next? Work used to look like a briefcase with manila folders in it. And that's what taking work home looked like. But currently, in the 2000s to present, that's no longer what work looks like. It is day to day, it's integrated into our life. So, what do? I was in a conversation a few weeks ago with a woman who is from the in the boomer generation, and most of her colleagues are millennials. Her boss is a millennial. And she said the biggest thing that shifted is knowing that she can ask questions. She can ask questions. That's the biggest thing that she said has shifted, because when she entered the workplace, this wasn't the case. Her words were exactly, as a woman, you followed suit and did the job. And now there's a bunch of millennials disrupting the workforce just from asking questions. So with this shift in workplace priorities, the study that we just showed was Gallup in 2017. And while it's all still true, we also have another adaptation, and the science and the data is still coming out about it due to the global pandemic of 2020. And so right at the start, obviously, we all remember this. We had the tragic and publicized passing of George Floyd, which sparked this massive global, much needed social justice movement. So how does this impact work? For the first time, and possibly ever, employees, people, the public, have the power to hold their places of employment accountable for the change they wish to see. So corporations respond, and there's this major uptick and focus on DEI across the board. Fast forward, it's been 2 years, conflict. The brands and the companies that took a stand and to align DEI initiatives in with their values, of the billions of dollars pledged, we've only seen a tiny amount come through. So we ask, why do you think employees are frustrated? Going back to culture, it is the patterns of behavior and values encouraged and discouraged by people, processes, and systems over time. Currently, this year, we're in the Great Resignation, and 7 out of 10 people are making major career changes. So several studies have shared that this summer, the power is in the hands of the candidate. People want flexible hours, but don't call me after 5. My manager doesn't know how to lead teams remotely, so that's why they're bringing us all back in the office. We all get the point. Our values have shifted so dramatically. What do we want from work, and how do we want work to contribute to our lives differs from what the office was like in 1999. We're not clocking in and clocking out. We want purpose, and we want the companies that we work for to stand for something. We want leaders and coaches, not just managers. Do we understand what conflict is and why it exists in the workplace? For the next following 3 weeks, we are going to continue to discuss how conflict impacts us daily at work and what you can do about it. I will share real examples and give practical insights on how you can best steward your influence at work and how to mitigate conflict in your life. So next week, what are we going to talk about? What do you do when you as an employee have conflict with your leader? This can be when you watch your leader have a lapse of integrity, when you witness a microaggression, when they don't align with your viewpoint as a leader. we'll talk through how you can steward and lead up. Session 3, as a leader, how do you manage conflict with your team? And just a reminder that we say leader, but this can be outside of the workplace. This can be in your home, because we all are leading something ourselves. And so it's important to remember that when no one is listening to you, when you feel stuck between everything and everyone else, like example, your senior leadership is asking for something and your team doesn't think it would work. What do you do whenever you're literally in this battle between the two to try and get them to be aligned? We're going to talk through how to lead through vulnerability. Brene Brown says that vulnerability is uncertainty, risk, and emotional exposure. So we are going to lean in and talk through some of that. How do you lead with vulnerability? And then session 4, how to manage conflict within ourselves. I think that this might be one of the more challenging topics because it's a level of introspection. But what do we do whenever we've crossed our own boundaries? What do we do whenever it's you versus you? So what we will focus on is how to define your no so that we can honor our yes. If you have any questions, please go ahead and drop them in the chat. We are so grateful that you are here. I look forward to seeing you next Friday at 12 p.m. Eastern. And feel free to follow me on LinkedIn for daily encouragement or coaching. And if you want to continue this conversation or are looking for professional development, please do not hesitate to reach out, because I promise you are not alone. See you next week.